All right. What is up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to our program review number 4. I am Chelsea. You can find me at Chelsea Rose Health on Instagram. And this is my mentor, Chris Hitchko of Show Up Fitness. Say hi, Chris.
Hey, how are we doing today?
So good. I'm really excited to sit down and talk about today's programming, because if we've looked at programming from the last 3 weeks, we've really been covering a lot of kind of standard strength training and how we, find a bunch of different programs, whether it's on Instagram or being sold through blogs or whatever, and how they're not maybe as effective as how like strength training should be and could be. Which has been great. But today I want to go over HIIT training because it gets thrown around so much between HIIT classes and HIIT programs and things like that. So I want to go over a program that I have from one of my clients. She purchased this program and kind of just walk everyone through what I think influencer HIIT training looks like. And then Chris, I'd love for you to kind of explain to everyone what true HIIT training looks like. So I'll pull up these programs here. All right.
So I think it's important to first just address why HIIT is so popular. And HIIT stands for high intense interval training. It's sexy because the intent is to do high quality work in a short period of time. And as a society, we're all about faster, quicker results. And so what people will unfortunately do is market it as a way to, you don't have to work out as long. You do a 20 to 30-minute workout a couple times a week and you'll be good. And then what companies will do, like an F45, they'll use their tagline lines like functional 45 minutes. These are popular terms today. So it's very sexy and it's easy to sell. So we're starting off with 5 minutes on the warm up and then honey HIIT. Let's see what we got.
Yeah. So in this HIIT training, it looks like we've got, sorry, it's a little old, so it's a little, blurry, but 2 to 3 rounds of this circuit. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 exercises. And everything is done for mostly 30 seconds to a minute, some upwards of 2 minutes, some for 15 seconds, which I think we can touch on that later. But yeah, basically it's called a HIIT workout. But when we're looking at like the exercises involved and the energy exertion, that's probably going to be able to even go into each one with the amount of time that we're asked to do each one. And it doesn't look like there's any rest involved. It seems like by the time we get halfway through, we're unable to really even put out as much energy as we should be able to or could do if we were doing correct exercises and putting all out effort for maybe 15 seconds. So when I look at this, I think a lot of these feel very long or there's just way too many. And it kind of turns into more of just another somewhat ineffective overall workout rather than a good HIIT workout, in my opinion.
I think it's beautiful how gullible people are, because I'm going to assume that this is a female who designed this just from how pretty it is. Guys just throw shit together and put it out there. So the girl probably has great glutes, flat tummy, and toned arms. So that's her advertisement. And so people think that, oh, she looks like that because of this program. And that's how fitness gets people to buy in, where you have giant biceps, therefore your biceps came from the way that you train. And you always got to look at duration and intensity. And so you're absolutely correct when you were saying that the amount of intensity, the output is going to be greatly compromised. HIIT training, this is funny because this is fucking terrible, but it's anaerobic. So anaerobic means without oxygen. That means you're going to be in the energy system of phosphocreatine, which is something that you can do for 20, 30 seconds max. And so how I like to explain that is, I think we've talked about it in the past, maybe not, but if Chelsea and I were going to race 100 meters, the loser dies. So it's not like you're just going to be going, oh, plie squats for a minute. You're not doing that to max capacity for a minute. You would need heavy load with that as well. So that's an endurance exercise. So that's aerobic. And the fact that you're not resting makes this an aerobic workout. So it's ironic because this is not HIIT. This is just a bunch of fucking exercises thrown into a pot. So, you got a leg exercise followed by another leg exercise with an upright row. So there's your complex, and you got some cardio, and then you have more legs, and then you have kettlebell swings. And this is unfortunate because you're going to have a gullible person who doesn't know how to move very well. They don't understand the competency behind the core movement patterns. And then 1, 2, 4, 5, almost 5 minutes into the workout of pure work, now you have to do kettlebell swings for a minute. And so the competency behind that movement of a hinge is going to be very challenging to maintain throughout that 1 minute. And that's how people hurt themselves. And then what we do is we blame kettlebell swings on it. No, you don't know how to kettlebell swing first, A, and then B is it's inappropriate. So then you do your abs, and then you do your abs again, and then cardio, and then more abs, and then bench steps. And then I can always tell if someone's bench dips. That's just a stupid exercise from a anatomical perspective, because your humerus can only get to about 60 degrees of extension. When you do a bench dip, you're going to 90. So you're really compromising the integrity of your glenohumeral joint and just the shoulder in general. So I can always look at an exercise like, oh, that's one exercise that you just know someone doesn't know what they're talking about. And then you have V-sits, abs, and side planks. So that's my take on that one.
Yeah. And what I'll say too is that I know there's going to be probably a lot of women that have bought a program like this and did it for a little bit and did see some changes, and that makes them very excited and it makes them feel like this works. But the analogy the analogy I like to give with that is you go from doing nothing to having something, you're going to see a change. Just like if you go from drinking no coffee to drinking coffee, you're going to feel a little bit different. But if you go from doing this every day, like having a cup of coffee every day, eventually it's just not going to give you the same feeling, or it's not going to give you the same result, and you're going to have to add more. So think about going from 1 cup of coffee a day to 2 cups of coffee a day. And then yes, that works for a little bit, but then it's soon enough, you don't feel any different either. Same thing with this. You do this for a while, but then you're still going to have to add into this, because this isn't effective enough to last with the way it's set up and with the kind of energy output they expect you to give. That's the thing, is like when this program was made, they weren't thinking about that. They weren't thinking that, I really truly think that someone's going to be able to give their all and give their best for plie squats for a whole minute. And then I really do think they're going to be able to go into this and give their all for 1 minute. Like whoever designed this program didn't think of that. They just thought, I just want to make someone tired, and I want to make it really quote unquote challenging for them to do. So I'm going to pick a bunch of random exercises and pick times that that person may honestly not even be able to complete these exercises with no rest, but it doesn't matter because no one's asking them any questions about it. So they set it up this way, knowing that it's going to be challenging for whoever is getting it, and then ask you to do it enough times that they are absolutely sure that you'll be exhausted from it. And then that, now the client feels like it's hard, they get some results, and the program sells. So it is unfortunate. But that's kind of how that works, as far as something giving you results, but not always giving you results. So let's look
Is there another one there?
Yeah, I have another one. This one was also a HIIT workout. Oops. So we've got do each move for 20 seconds with a 10-second rest in between each round. Go through each move 3 times before moving on to the next move. So I will say already, I feel like this is slightly better than the last one based on the amount of time they want you to work. But as Chris was saying earlier, there is, just like there is with normal strength training, there is kind of like a general outline that you should be aware of when you're doing a specific type of training. So like in strength training, for example, if you do an exercise for 15 reps and you're going to do that 3 times, you can plan on resting like 30 to maybe 60 seconds in between each round before you go back and hit the next 15 reps. So when you're doing 20 seconds, ideally in a HIIT workout of all out exercise, I feel like the 10-second rest in between is typically not what would be suggested.
This actually comes from Dr. Tabata out of Japan, and he's a physiologist who created the Tabata programming. And a Tabata program is 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. And the best example that I was given from a professor in school is, imagine you're on a bridge and you can't see the end on either side. And it's kind of foggy out. So you're walking on it and it's at night. And all of a sudden you see two lights pop up. It's a train coming right at you. So you have to turn around and start sprinting. You're not going to be lollygagging. You give it 20 seconds of holy hell, knowing that if you don't, you're going to die. And then right before the train runs you over, you jump off. And then you land on another train track. And you have 10 seconds to rest, and you do it again. And you do that protocol for 8 rounds. And so what people will do is they'll take pieces of it and then try to make it their own. Like, oh, here's a Tabata. And it's actually quite disrespectful to the founder. And, but people who are listening, and I'm sure we're going to get some comments like, you're knocking them, you're being mean, whatever. Well, it's unfortunate because you got to go back down to the fundamentals and the foundation of our industry. And so anyone can become a trainer. Anyone, if you want to become a trainer, I can get you certified in a couple of days. It's pathetic. It doesn't mean you're qualified. And so what we need to really address here is people can do this. And as Chelsea was alluding to, you can see results. And a lot of people be like, well, I have fun doing them. I really like that workout. And it worked for me. I lost weight. I love these girls. I love this company. I love whoever. You're being mean. Well, what about the people who were hurt from doing it? So it'd be like a doctor today, an anesthesiologist who he decides to get drunk every single time that he does surgery, and he successfully helps 60% of his patients. That's great. They're living. I'm doing a good cause. This is what I'm passionate about this. But what about the ones who died? Now in medicine, you'd go to prison. But in fitness, oh, it's okay. Let it be. Doing jumps for 20 seconds is fine. I've had lots of people that do it, and I agree to respectfully disagree. No, fuck you. You don't get to agree to disagree because it's not ethical for it to give these programs to people without doing a proper screen and making sure people do have the fundamentals of movement and make sure they can move. And if you have someone who's overweight to obese and you have them jump for 20 seconds and then rest and do it again, jumps are meant for explosive, to do things maximally. And try this yourself. You could do it anywhere, but I like to do it like under a basketball hoop and just jump up as high as you can. Or go to a wall and put some chalk on your hands and smack the wall and do it for a minute. And what you're going to see is the first 10 seconds or so, your hands will be here. And then the next 50 seconds, they're going to be like down here. They're significantly lower. So here was type 2 recruitment. This is explosive. That would be anaerobic. That could be classified as like a HIIT if you were to do it like an upper body exercise next. And then this is aerobic. So you're training your type 1 muscle fibers aerobically. And that's not why we do jumps. People will do them because they're hard. But remember, hard isn't necessarily better. So I'm not knocking these, saying that, and it's always such a catch-22 today. You have to be polarizing on YouTube or Instagram because otherwise people aren't going to watch. Like if you're just super, super politically correct, but people make a lot of money off of gullibility, and both of these programs are fucking stupid, but people will still buy them.
Yeah. And it's crazy. And it's like, they'll work for a little bit, but not going to be effective. And like Chris said, it puts you at risk of being injured simply because of how many exercises there are and the amount of times that we're doing them. So with that said, I think it'd be cool to go over a ideal HIIT training for maybe a beginner. I guess we have to say that we have to look at what kind of HIIT a beginner could potentially even be doing. But if someone's looking to add in like that extra calorie burn and they like HIIT, but they're not sure, what to do, can we create like a 1-day example for somebody?
Yeah. So it's good so the template that you can use is, you want to do things that are going to be explosive first. So you can start off with like doing 10 jumps, for example. And after 10 jumps, you could go, if you're at a gym, you could hop on the treadmill. If you have battle ropes, whatever fun, cool cardio that you like to do that for 30 seconds, but it should be maximal. After that, go into a lower body exercise. And ideally, it would be antagonistic of whatever cardio you chose. So for example, if you did battle ropes, do a lower body exercise. If you did the ski erg, do a lower body exercise next, like a goblet or a squat or whatever. If you decided to do a sprint on a treadmill, then do an upper body. So you do that high intense cardio and then do opposite of what muscles are just being worked. So then you have the ability of the muscles to rest a little bit. So for example, you got your jumps, then we're going to hop on a treadmill and we're going to do that for 30 seconds. Treadmill would be lower body. So then we're going to do some push-ups next. And then from the push-ups, I would do a core exercise. Because when you're doing a core exercise, everything's kind of resting. So maybe some bicycle kicks. And then I would get into a leg exercise. And you do your leg exercise for maybe 10 to 15 reps, maybe 20 if you wanted to. So reverse lunges, goblet squats, whatever, step ups. Then you go back and you do the opposite of the muscle that you did first for the upper body. So these terms, I don't want to confuse people, but they're called agonists the antagonist. So if I do a push-up, the opposite would be a pull. If I do an exercise here, it would be coming here. So let's say you did a push-up first. Now let's do some back exercises. So we do pull-ups, we do an Aussie, we do a pronated row, which is the cable row here. And then you can do another isolation, or you can do another ab exercise. An isolation would be like band walks for your butt. It could be another ab exercise, bicep curls, tricep extensions. So what we have with this template now, take your cardio, then you do a leg, then you can do upper body, then you do some abs, and then you do an isolation, and then you're able to rest maybe 30 seconds to a minute. So now there's some structure behind it. So you're not going, as you saw in the last one, where you're doing jumps into lunges, into more leg stuff. And so you're being strategic on how you design it. So you're allowing muscles to rest strategically. And they'll do this like when they design workouts for MMA fighters and people that need the aerobic capacity, but they also need the explosiveness. So you can look at an exercise, a push, and then do a pull into a leg. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then do your cardio. And you can do that circuit of 4. So if you wanted to keep it a little KISS, for example, keep it simple, shithead, you can just choose those 4 things: a leg, a push, a pull, and a cardio. And then you could do that and change up the duration and intensity. So when I say duration and intensity, what that means is, let's use a treadmill example. So I'm going to run for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to do a push, and then a pull, and then a leg. And then I will do maybe 5 rounds of that. So the next time you do this, you can go for 45 seconds, or you can put the speed higher and go for 15 seconds. So see that duration and intensity aspect. How confusing is that?
No, that makes sense. I'm just thinking like, so if someone did battle ropes and then they went into like a reverse lunge or a goblet squat with a proper kind of HIIT training mentality, is that something that they're trying to squat for time? Are they grabbing like the heaviest weight they can do for time? Are they like, is there one that makes more sense than the other?
Yeah, optimally, you would want to get the most amount of tension. But where people get deterred from that is the timing is going to be a lot less than they're used to. If you go to F45, they're going to do it for 45 seconds or a minute. So I would like, so what's your, give me like a rough estimate for your hip thrusts, Chelsea. How much can you do?
Well, like for how many?
Let's say 5.
315.
Okay. So I can always tell you, let's say the different, like 315, if you don't know what that looks at, it's 345s on each side. And it's always interesting that the people who have great bodies, great physiques, they can lift a lot of weight usually. And so, 315, should throw it out there. If you're watching this and you're like, I can do 10 pounds, it's not to discourage you. That's start lifting heavier. And you're not going to get crazy bulky. Chelsea isn't a Shira over here. She's in great shape and she is a strong woman. That's what we need more of. But you essentially could take the hip thrust 315, which would be something she could do 5. Maybe you do 225 for 10. So you just take a plate off and then you do that for 10 reps, which she could maybe do for 15 or 20, but you're getting a good amount of work done in that 10 reps. So it's a variation of like a cluster set, because if you really went to fatigue, the next time she came around, she wouldn't be able to. So you're doing it more from a volume standpoint. So you do your jumps into your 225 for 10, into your battle ropes, into your another ab exercise, whatever. And maybe you do that for 10 rounds, and then you're hitting essentially 100 hip thrusts at 225. And that would be a good amount of volume and also a pretty hard workout.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. And then as far as like the rest at the end before someone goes back to do round 2, do you think it's best that people follow like a heart rate monitor and try to wait for their heart rate to come back down to a certain point? Or is it like a 3 to 5 minute rest period typically fine?
Yeah, I think doing some type of periodization with that rest period. So let's say you're going to do 5 rounds. The first round, rest a minute. Second round, 2 minutes. 3 rounds, 3 minutes. 4, 4, and 5, 5. So then at the end, you have a little longer rest, and you can also flip that around. So say that's workout 1. The next time you do this workout 2 days later, you do the same workout, but then flip down that rest. So in the beginning, you rest 5 minutes, and then you rest 4 minutes, and then you rest 3 minutes, and then maybe at the end you do a total of 2 of them. So it's like you hit those exercises, you don't rest, and you do one last more. And that's kind of getting into like what they'll call metabolic conditioning, where you take away the rest. But instead of just falling in love with one rest, it's always funny. I think that people just aren't creative. They're just, I don't know what it is, but you always see 30 seconds in a minute. Why not do 50 seconds and then rest for 2 minutes? Work until you need the rest, and then rest until you can work. I took that quote from the Tita brothers, and they do a lot of metabolic stuff. And I like that a lot, because instead of falling in love with the rep range, if Chelsea and I do this and it's kind of easy, we have the competency to say, okay, let's up it a little bit. We can either go heavier in the weights, add another exercise in, or shorten the rest. So you have that ability to kind of manipulate those variables. And so if something's too easy for you, put that into your program. So you can rest a little longer and go heavier. You can keep the weight the same, but rest a little less, or add in another exercise.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that all makes sense. And for anyone that's kind of wondering, because Chris and I have talked about on our previous videos about how rest can be extremely important, because if you're trying to do, say, 315 hip thrusts for 5 reps, if you don't rest long enough, when you go to do it a second time, you may not be able to do it, when had you just rested longer, you would have been able to do it. So I like to keep track of all of my reps and the weights I'm using and take notes for each workout. I do it in a chart on my iPhone in my notes. And I did a post about that on my Instagram if you guys are curious about how to set that up. But I found it to be extremely helpful, because in this situation, like Chris is talking about, if I wanted to go for round 2 without maybe resting as long, I could maybe look back at my notes and say, okay, last time I was able to hit, 10 reps of 215 hip thrust. So if I can get that again right now with resting less, then that in itself is an improvement. And so kind of being able to keep track of those numbers, I think, is really helpful always. And if you're trying to make progress. All right, cool. I think that's helpful, hopefully, for you guys when it comes to HIIT training. I'm sure Chris and I would obviously be happy to help anyone that's looking for another example of HIIT, or if you guys have any questions, reach out to us. And then I think that covers it for this week's program review.
And we're also being selfish, because we're just breaking down these programs. But for those that are watching, if you need programming, Chelsea does programs for her clients. We have programs for our clients. I always encourage trainers to get programs from other people. So it's nice to have someone designing a program for you. A lot of our interns in our program, they have me or one of our trainers in Santa Monica design them programs. And it's a paid service. And it's nice because you get an actual quality trainer, quality program. And with Zooms today, we have trainers that will do that for you. I know, Chelsea, you use Trainerize still, is that correct? Or did you go to a new platform?
Trainerize still for right now, and then fully switching over soon. But yeah.
Great. So reach out with any questions you have, and we'd love the comments, like, subscribe, shoot us a message with what you want to see more of, and we'd love to help you. Have a great day, y'all.
See ya.